If everybody could take their seats, please, and would someone mind closing that back door, please? Thank you. I call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Education, CUSD 201, today, September 24th, 2013. Roll call, please.
Mr. Armstrong?
Here.
Ms. Caparelli? Here. Mrs. Charlton?
Here.
Mrs. Hancock? Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Mrs. Knapbush?
Here.
Mr. Price?
Here.
If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the August 27, 2013 regular meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the closed session of the August 27th, 2013 regular meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the September 10th, 2013 regular meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the closed session of the September 10th, 2013 regular meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public comment. Let's start first with Celebrate Success from the WTA, please.
Good evening, board members, Mr. Carey and Ms. Anderson. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you and the community. Tonight, the Westmont Teachers Association would like to continue our tradition of celebrating success. As each month, the WTA will introduce a teacher or group of teachers to the board, parents, families, and the community in order to raise awareness about the great things going on in District 201 schools. This month, I would like to start by focusing on and introducing the Teachers Association Executive Board. Executive Board members, please stand when I call your name. Jason Prisney and Carrie Bauerlein, co-vice presidents. Rainey Kaplan, treasurer. Lisa Kozin, secretary. April Veal, region council. Manning building reps, Cindy Caliendo, Mark Carrier, and Alice Riley. Miller building reps, Peggy Chapinski and Joanne Slott. And high school building reps, Larissa Zalisco, Doug Begwin, and Aaron Morose. When our executive board met this summer, we developed goals by asking the question, what is the WTA going to accomplish this year? These are the goals that developed from our discussion. To increase member involvement through district, building, WTA, and IEA committees. To increase positive communication between the Board of Education and WTA. To acknowledge and recognize members who are making a difference. And to increase funds and applications for the WTA Education Scholarship for Westmont High School students, and to establish partnerships with district school organizations. We challenged our members to help us expand our story, become involved with WTA and IEA. Our motto, one member, one thing, every member, every year. Each of our board members serves on or will serve on a variety of district, building, and association committees with leadership responsibilities. This summer, Rainey spent time in leadership training as she traveled to IEA meetings at the state and local levels and attended the NEA conference. Rainey now also sits on the TRS Board of Trustees and attends those meetings. Carrie, Peggy, April, and I attended local IEA leadership training, gathering information to bring back to our members. Lisa, Carrie, April, Rainey, and I continued our work with the evaluation task force, while Carrie, Peggy, and other members worked with the district leadership team. Alice, Lisa, Carrie, Peggy, Larissa, and I attended conferences and workshops in our content area, and many members had opportunities for travel. The WTA sponsored their third annual summer book club. Administrators, as well as certified and non-certified staff members, were invited to read a variety of books, including, and I have here, the New Yorker Book of Teacher Cartoons, the Together Teacher Plan Ahead, Get Organized and Save Time, and Creating Innovators, The Making of Young People Who Will Change the World by Tony Wagner. We had some great conversations. We met at a variety of local coffee shops to share ideas and have collegial conversations around these books. Again, thank you for your time. We look forward to a successful school year with our teachers, students, and families while engaging in professional, collaborative conversations related to district and WTA goals. Thank you for having us. So now at this time, I'd like to introduce Ms. Lisa Hoopman. She has brought students and some food to share with you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for having us tonight. We are really glad to be here. We wanted to share a little information about our APES class, which is AP Environmental Science, and then the garden that we've been working on and how we're incorporating that information and those concepts into our course. And I have some wonderful students that are here today that are going to kind of let you know about what we're doing and why we're doing what we're doing and how it's connected to our class. And then if we could get the PowerPoint set up. All right. Thank you. Might be easiest.
Hi everyone, my name is Rachel and this is Missy and we're seniors this year and we're going to talk about why we think organic farming is important to the high school and the community. First and foremost, I think it's kind of important that we're applying what we're learning in the classroom to something we can do hands-on, and we're seeing how sustainability and these farming techniques can be used in a real-world application.
Yeah, it's also good because, again, it teaches us about self-reliance and that it shows how you can grow your own food, and we've done it all organically, so it's been grown without herbicides and without pesticides. We've used like natural methods to keep certain bugs away. Like with the tomatoes, we planted marigolds with them to keep some of the bugs away and help keep that under control. So we're learning about not only just farming, but how to do it organically and in a way that won't damage the environment.
And going along with the organic technique, where everything that we grow in the garden is sent into our food service. So I think it's important that we're using things that aren't harmful, things that are safe for every student to eat and enjoy.
Yeah, and it's a good way to get fresh vegetables into our food service, because I know a lot of times it's difficult to get, fresh vegetables in such large quantities to all the students. So this way we can, and we're providing for our fellow students. So it's kind of a cool concept to be growing food for us and our fellow students to eat, something that's healthy and provides nutrition. Yeah.
And also, we're seeing like a lot of interest in the community. We saw the Progress article, I think most of you have seen it, and Missy and I were working on the garden over the summer, and it was a day sports practices were being held, and a lot of parents, when they were picking up their kids, they came over to ask Missy and I about what we were doing, and they seemed really interested and they wanted to know more, so we were happy to explain what we were doing. Okay.
Good evening. My name is John Martinez. I'm a sophomore. I helped with the raised beds back in February. We use cedar for the garden. We used 9 beds. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. We used soil and mulch. It was a lot of hard work. Yeah, we put all the soil and mulch in the beds.
So in this past June, a few students, including Rachel and I, and a few others, we went into school and we were in Mrs. Hoopman's room and we had little pots and we filled them with soil and we put little seeds in there to grow little sprouts so they'd be easier to plant because usually the result isn't quite as good if you just plant the seeds straight in the ground. So if you plant them in a less harsh environment until they get a little bit stronger and then plant them into the ground, the success rate is much higher.
Later, once the plants were substantial enough, we took them and we planted them in our garden. We did that over the summer as well as taking some seeds directly during the school year.
With the planting also, the planting and setting up the beds and arranging the garden and stuff, it wasn't just our AP Environmental Science class students that were a part of it. We had a lot of students that weren't even in the class or anything who just wanted to get involved, who helped us to set things up.
Okay, so we harvested at the beginning of the school year, and we go out every week and check all the plants and make sure that we didn't miss anything. I think we're talking about how much we've harvested later, but you can see us harvesting beets. We grew tomatoes, zucchini,
Broccoli, cucumbers, chard, all sorts of different things. And we've pretty much had all of the food in the lunch at one point or another now. I think we're still waiting on potatoes and broccoli, right?
Yeah, I know the zucchini was there.
Yeah, but all right. So we're going to have those next week, and we're looking forward to trying those because so far the stuff has been really good and very nutritious.
Francesca, our food service director, has been fantastic in bringing everything into the food service for the kids. She's tried new recipes, and she's really gotten the kids to try and, I guess, sample some of the newer things that maybe they wouldn't feel comfortable sampling otherwise. Beets and Swiss chard is not necessarily the palate of a teenager at this point, so she's really trying to get them to just taste things, to try it for the first time. And we've gotten some positive feedback, and we're real happy about that. And I think we hope that the kids will continue to try new things. But with all of the processing, Francesca has been fantastic along with her staff because it takes time to clean all of this, and they really have put in a lot of effort. You know, it doesn't just come clean, and so she's got extra prep that's involved, and it wouldn't work without her, so she really has been wonderful.
We start by passing this down.
Certainly.
Feel free to have some. Everybody.
Goodness, here, we'll just,
Hi, I'm Finn Larkin. We built a compost bin recently, and the idea was to help recycle waste from the garden, because part of environmental science is you want to be able to recycle and keep reusing stuff instead of wasting. It's kind of the whole concept of the class. So we built a compost bin and we learned why it was useful and how it worked, and then we put it out in the garden after we finished building it. Ready to click the thing next? And before I go on to the zucchini bread, because I want to lead into that, after we learned about the soils and stuff and how good recycling was, we had to learn kind of what wasn't good for it. And one of the things we learned about was something that most people would not expect, but salt. Because salt, we discovered, kills a lot of plants because it uses up water and nutrients. And after that, we realized that you had to be able to use other things to substitute in order to produce healthy food, such as what you're eating right now. Unfortunately, we couldn't bring in any of the zucchini bread that we made on that day, which actually came from our garden too. We made zucchini, and then we all went up, well, not made, we grew zucchini. And we brought it all up, and we made zucchini bread. Well, after we made the zucchini bread, we were able to actually look back and see the product of work like we'd been doing in class the whole time. We were able to see that work like this isn't just work, it's producing something for us, and we were able to all taste it, and it was extremely good. And it was something that we were able to appreciate in a way that you normally can't in class. And do you just click it?
So this is the data of the produce that we grew in our garden. At the beginning of the process, Ms. Hoopman set a goal for us, which was 300 pounds. As you can see, we surpassed our goal. As part of the class, we measured everything in pounds and converted it to grams and kilograms because it's the scientific
Universal measurement.
Or scientific measurement. And so part of our class is we're taking everything from pounds and turning it into grams and kilograms.
Yeah, and this is only through the end of August. So, and since then we've harvested a lot more stuff. So,
yeah. We added pounds every week from the harvest that we've done in each class.
Yep.
Thank you very much for having us here tonight. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
So I have a question. Who maintained these plants all summer?
All of us did. We each basically had community service hours, and we had to fill out a certain amount per month. And one of the ways we could do that was by maintaining the plants in the garden on assigned days.
Oh,
We could sign up each week.
fantastic. That's great.
Yeah, so we, over the summer, signed up for, we had like a schedule where everybody would take a day or a certain amount of days, and so we took care, we would water and stuff. And one day when Rachel and I were watering the garden together, the garden doesn't only support the kids at our school and stuff, it also supports some animals.
Yeah.
Because we were in there one day watering, and there was a baby bunny in there. It's still in there. It
It's our
comes back.
mascot.
Really?
It's our little garden mascot.
Did you name it?
Sentinel bunny.
That's great. Good
It's
job.
good for everybody.
Yeah.
That was going to be my question, like, first of all, are you guys, can you hire yourself out to come to those of us that grow? And how do you get those animals out of your garden? But congratulations to all of you. That's all. I guess this is the epitome of hands-on education. So that's very exciting. And by the way, that was very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very good.
The zucchini bread would have been better.
It was so good we had to eat it
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, you're welcome to have seconds on the fruit, though. That's what
Thanks.
I want to say, I think it's great that you're getting this opportunity. I mean, we do my family does a garden in our backyard, a little raised garden, and I'm amazed with such a small garden how much we get out of it, and everything is so good. The other thing is, a friend of mine, a coworker of mine, has he lives downtown in the city, and he started a community garden on a plot, and it's really cool how many people are able to take advantage of that, growing something right there, how they all get involved, and I think it's just excellent that you guys get this opportunity, not just to kind of be doing this hands-on, something that's educational, but also something where you're learning something you can actually go and do for the rest of your life as long as you have a spot to do it, and that a lot of other people got to see and enjoy it, so it's wonderful.
No, I just want to say congratulations, and it shows hard work pays off, doesn't it?
Thank you very much for sharing your experience. I'm really glad to hear from the students directly themselves. It's just really lets us know, we're doing the right thing here. So very happy to have you come and present for us. Has anyone considered tallying up the dollar value of all it'd be interesting because it's got to be quite a bit with 327 pounds and the different varieties of.
We haven't really looked at it that way. We want it to be kind of a donation.
Sure.
I know Francesca has just mentioned ballpark. We haven't had to purchase any cucumbers, and generally at this point she would have purchased 10 cases, and I think maybe they're around $15 a case. So it's really nice that we can provide this for the school. It saves a little bit of money, at least. And I think what's nice too is some of the students, they help with the grant proposal writing. that we're working on. And then another set of students presented at the Downers Grove Organic Garden Club, and they donated $250 to our program. So, you know, there's a few different ways that they're really helping, you know, Westmont High School, and it's very valuable.
It's just great to see when you do something like that how much money, and I'm thinking along just even if you do it at your home and you have a garden, how much money you really do generate by doing things for yourself, and instead of buying everything that we consume. So it's a great lesson that way.
Will you do this annually now, every year? You'll do this every year?
I would like to, yes. It's a manageable size, and I think it's, as long as we have the course, then the kids can participate, and I have the help, because it really is a lot of hours.
Sure.
You know, to maintain, to water, and the heat. The heat of the summer is what's really difficult. Now it's a little bit easier, but yeah, it's definitely a lot to manage.
And will the boxes, the beds, will those?
The raised beds that John ended up.
It's a lot of work.
They will maintain, because he had mentioned they were cedar.
Cedar.
And that doesn't rot. And so we will have those for many years.
Oh, that's great, great.
So I just wanted to say I had the chance to look at it the other night, the garden, because I was at the high school. It's pretty amazing and awesome. I was very impressed. So you did a great job.
Thank you for having
Thank
us
you.
here tonight.
Can I just take 1 minute and introduce Lisa Kozin to speak just a second about the Hats Off for Cancer?
Hi. I just wanted to give you a little recap, since we just got the final numbers and I'm working on the press release currently for the progress. Our district participated in a Hats Off for Cancer event. It was a project that the Early Act Club at the junior high wanted to do when one of our own students was battling and is still battling with cancer. She's over at the high school now. And what it did was, the first year that we did it, it was the kids would have to pay $1 to wear a hat in school that day. And then the donations would all go to Hats Off for Cancer for children's cancer research. The first year also we did a hat collection, and we ended up getting almost 100 some hats that came in that we gave to American Cancer Society so they could distribute them to students or patients in the area. This year, all the schools participated again, and our final total came to $695 that we'll be donating. And so I just wanted to share that with all of you, and we're still praying and hoping for our 2 students in the district that are suffering right now. And we did want to thank Marie Charlton, who came and helped with the money collection process of that over at the junior high. Thanks.
I would like to add to that, how many students at the junior high just decided to donate money even though they didn't want to wear a hat. They just pulled money out of their pocket, so thank you for that. Did you have anything else, Ms. Riley? Okay, are there any other public comments? Thank you, and thank you for bringing your students here. Did you grow the ice cream? That's a great thing. That is so great. Mass exodus. Do you want me to say something, or do you want to just?
No, you should do that first, and then turn it over to Kim.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is the public hearing format, and the chair will call the public hearing to order regarding the proposed 2013-2014 budget. So before we, do you want to go first, and
Yeah,
then we'll do the, okay.
Okay. Kim present.
Good
Ms.
evening.
Anderson?
Good evening. Tonight, I've got the 2013-14 final budget, and there aren't too many, sorry about that. There aren't too many changes from the tentative. The change it just slightly, and increases in revenues from the tentative budget to the final were a result of some IDEA room and board revenue, which is going to be offset by expenditure. We think we're going to have another outplaced student, so I've adjusted revenues and expenditures accordingly. We got a little bit more grant revenue than what we had in the tentative budget. And if we, there's a comparison of our revenues by source. So property taxes, other local sources, we have state sources and federal sources. And in our operating funds, that consists of the education fund, operations and maintenance fund, tort, transportation, IMRF, and social security funds. And you can see our revenues by source. Pictorially, property taxes for the operating funds represent almost 83% of our revenues. So property taxes are extremely important to our district. And then for all funds, they're about 83% of revenues. Our revenue assumptions are based on a tax levy of 3.0% CPI for the 2012 levy and 1.7% for the 2013 levy. Again, they're the largest sources of our revenues. Our interest rates continue at historic lows. Interest income is pretty much nominal. And general state aid continues to be prorated at about 88.7%. Now, for our district, that's not that critical because we don't receive much money in general state aid. For some districts, that can be a big factor in their budget. And then expenditures by object, again, you can see the breakdown, all funds and compared to the operating funds. And the biggest difference here, for all funds, the capital projects fund, that's for all of the construction projects that we're doing. You can see that that's not part of our operating funds. And then under the other objects, the $1.4 million, that's our debt service. The majority of that is our debt service payments, which is in our O&M fund. And again, expenditures increased from the final budget because of some room and board and special ed and a little bit of additional grant expenditures. And salaries and benefits are the majority of our budget. You can see salaries and the operating funds comprise 60% of our budget, and our benefits are right around 13% for a total of almost 73%. And then purchase services and supplies, are a relatively minor portion of our budget. We do tuition is about 7.5%. And then again, the comparison for all funds. Again, in all funds, salaries and benefits are about 63%, and that's because you start adding in debt service and our capital projects when you're looking at all the funds. And then we've got the fund balance summary. And again, we're looking at a proposed deficit budget this year. In the education, and overall for the operating funds, about $483,000. Again, we hope that our revenues come in better than projected and that our expenditures are below what we project. We try and make sure we budget for everything we're going to spend, and we try and anticipate revenues the best we can, and sometimes we get a little bit more than we anticipate. And then when you look at the projected deficits in the non-operating funds, the majority of that is because we're spending money for capital projects. So we have money from the bonds that are really offsetting that. So we're not really, deficit spending by $3 million. But in the way that these are presented, our revenues are less than expenditures. The expenditure assumptions, salaries are based on our contracts, and with the WTA base salaries increased at 70% of CPI. The same with WESPA. All other employees are about 2.1%, which is 70% of a 3.1 CPI. We have staffing changes that included our all-day kindergarten program, dual language program, special ed preschool program, additional business office staff, and an increase in custodial staff at South School. Medical insurance is budgeted at a 1.5% decrease for the first half of the year. That's what we know. We're having our renewal. Our new rates will be effective in January of this year. And we budget 10% increases. We don't really know what the market's going to do. We'll have our renewal in about sometime mid-October. So we'll have a good idea then to see where we are in terms of what we budgeted. We also aren't sure exactly what impact Obamacare is going to have on us as changes continue to occur each year with that. The transportation fund contract increased at 3% this year. And in the capital projects fund, it includes the balances for our summer 2013 work that we're still paying. And then we did some asphalt paving and repair work that was paid in the 13-14 school year, and then anticipated costs for summer 2014. And again, in summary, our revenue projections are conservative. Our expenditures are based on our anticipated needs, and right now they exceed revenues, but we hope we come in better than budget. And the budget is aligned with board and district goals to provide educational services to the students and families we serve. Does anybody have any questions?
I know it's early, but do we have any idea yet on CPI for next year? Or does that comes out later in the fall, right?
Right now, some people are projecting about 1.9%, and typically, a lot of times it comes in a little bit below that. So somewhere probably between 1.5 and 2% is what we're probably looking at.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay.
So there are no additional comments from the board members then? No. Okay. Are there any public comments concerning the proposed 2013-14 budget? Okay, then the chair will declare that the public hearing on the proposed 2013-2014 budget is closed. Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Are there any? I had a couple of questions on the policies, and I just wanted to ask about, and I will say I did talk with Joel Price, who's on the policy committee, about this, and so he kind of explained it to me. But what we have in front of us, the actual policies that are here are from press, not from our board policy. Mm-hmm. Okay, so when you're suggesting changes, they're not necessarily in here. For instance, like I'm talking about the vacation language. So what's in here is what press has suggested.
Right, and then you would have to go to our current policy. The language press has for vacations slightly different than the language that we currently have. And so we're going to adopt the policy press is recommending, but maintain how we calculate the vacation for 12-month employees.
When we do the second reading, can we get that? Mm-hmm. Because I was a little confused as I was reading this, and only after talking to someone on the policy committee did I finally kind of get that what we have in front of us was that.
Right.
And then the pieces that are reviewed that in the summary, which this summary is very nice. They're reviewed, so there were no content changes. It was just the footnotes. Things. Okay. Right. So then, will the footnotes then become part of our policy?
And the reason why it's just reviewed, when you put your policy into the book, you remove the footnotes. Footnotes are not included. So the footnotes are more of a reference guide, but that's why to just say we reviewed it because there was no substantial changes, just the footnotes.
Okay, well, that was my question.
And then the only other thing I think that might be a little bit different from what we've done in the past is there are a few policies that we review and we add our own language to, and we're trying to figure out a way to kind of highlight that verbiage that goes into the policy so we know down the road, the next time that policy comes up for review, that that language was specific wording that we added outside of press's recommendations. So we thought we might put an asterisk by that and a little footnote or something just to indicate that that was local
Or-
language of some sort.
And an example of that, like with the policies you're currently reviewing, policy 6220, it's referred to as bring your own technology. We, as a district, say bring your own device. And so we agreed as a committee that we would change it to bring your own device because that's what we have used in our district. So now we want to make sure that as we adopt that and it goes into the policy book, that we make some indication that that's the change we made, because unless there's something substantial that happens legislatively in 5 years, it'll come up for review again. And we want to make sure that everybody understands, okay, yeah, that's a change that we made, and that's why it says bring your own device.
Right, we don't want to lose that language.
Yeah, okay.
And then the only other thing that we discussed in the policy meeting was with regard to, specifically 6240 on field trips. There's sort of a little disclaimer in the policy, and I think we did talk about maybe adding that to the actual, what was it, Kevin, the field trip documentation?
Right. And it has to do with trips that are, occasionally there are trips that are organized. For example, Pete Landreth, he organizes trips, but they're not, even though he's our employee and our students are traveling on a trip, it's really not, falls under the district per se, for liability and those types of things. So that type of language on the form is what we want to add to our form.
So then what's here in front of us, that last paragraph, we put that in? Is that one of those?
That's what's recommended by press. We want to include that on the field trip form itself, so that
On the
anytime we have
Okay,
a trip
got it.
that.
Got it, okay. Okay, that was just trying, this was,
Marie,
Good, I'm just trying to-
one example of that was, a while back, we changed the 7305, the student athlete concussion and head injury. We added that, the press version of that policy said it could be either a certified athletic trainer or a physician that releases the student after, presentation of, a head, some sort of head injury back into, be able to play again or whatever. And we, kind of struck out the certified trainer, that it must be a physician. So the next time the policy comes from press, it will say certified trainer or physician. And so we need a way to flag that when we make a change so that that keeps carrying over into new versions of the policy, until a board decides to amend that again. But otherwise, it'll come to you as press in their original version with their original language, and we'll lose the change we, made that was, important at that time. I mean, it's good to review it and make a change if it's necessary, but I think a lot of these you probably would, would want to keep.
okay, yeah, that I do remember that conversation, so that's, okay, well, thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate it. Okay, anything else on the consent agenda? And then there's one additional item in your black folders. So the chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended. Number 1, personnel recommendations. Number 2, approval of applications for recognition of schools. Number 3, approval of Rachel's Challenge Service Agreement. 4, policy first reading. 5, resolution to abate working cash funds. 6, approval of September 2013 expenditure report. And 7, ratification of August 2013 regular payroll.
So moved.
Second?
And roll call, please, Mrs. McMahon?
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Ms. Caparelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Knappbush?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Then the next item, presentation of monthly financial statements. Ms. Anderson?
The July financial statements are in your packet, and they are compared to actually the final budget, since we're presenting them tonight. Sometimes we present them versus the tentative budget. The district received $378,000 from the state in the month of July. The state's vouchered $14,000 of FY13 payments. They're almost all caught up now as of the end of July. And we received one installment, a small installment of the tax levy at that point, $605,000. And the collection rate of 50.9% as of the end of July. And that's just slightly higher than the rate that we've received collections at over the past 3 years. In the ed and tort funds, revenues are slightly higher than the prior 3-year averages right now. And again, that's kind of because of the timing of the state payments. Unfortunately, they keep changing when they pay things, so it's really hard to compare month to month, year to year. And we are receiving general state aid for FY14 as planned, and that's the only categorical payments that we've received so far. And then as far as expenditures go, in the ed and tort funds, they're just slightly lower than the prior year, and that's really, again, based on how we receive invoices for things we order over the summer and things. And then we expect those to start leveling up and be at pace going forward. And then O&M fund is 2.6% spent to date, and last year it was 1.6% spent at this time of year. Again, it really kind of a timing of when you have projects and things like that. The student activity accounts and fund balance and investment accounts are attached for you to review. Because of receiving the tax revenue, we have investments of about $8.8 million right now, and that will start to dwindle as we need that cash to pay our bills going forward. Does anybody have any questions?
I just have one question, and I think it actually pertains back to the budget a little bit. And it was somewhere where you referenced that the district doesn't levy a working cash fund, and some or many districts do. We put our bond proceeds into the working cash.
Right.
Is there a negative side to not levying a working cash?
Well, sometimes it's nice, districts that have that, it's nice in case they run into, some cash flow issues, then they can borrow from themselves. They can borrow from the working cash fund and loan it to the fund that needs the money, and then as tax revenues come in, they can repay that. In our case, though, we have money in the working cash fund because we have a DSA base. A lot of districts don't have that, so we have the ability to issue bonds without going to referendum. So there's pluses to that too. And in our working cash fund, though, we do have to maintain a balance of a little over $300,000 in there at all times, and that's because of the abatement legislation. So we have to keep 0.05% of the then current EAV.
Okay.
So we will maintain probably at least a $300,000 balance in there.
Thank you.
Okay. Were you going to mention anything else on the other two items, or
The presentation of
the IBSC?
Oh, sorry, I did. Yeah, and then just attached for your review is the ISB salary compensation report. Is something that's required. It lists the teacher and administrative salaries for FY13, and we will be posting that on the website after the meeting. And then the IMRF salary compensation report, which is for IMRF employees, and that will also be posted on the website.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the adoption of the 2013-2014 budget. The chair will entertain a motion. Whereas the Board of Education of Community Unit School District Number 201, County of DuPage, State of Illinois, caused to be prepared in tentative form a budget, and the secretary of this board has made the same conveniently available to public inspection for at least 30 days prior to final action thereon. And whereas a public hearing was held as to such budget on the 24th day of September 2013, notice of said hearing was given at least 30 days prior thereto as required by law, and all other legal requirements have been complied with. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education of said district as follows. Section 1, that the fiscal year of this school district be, and the same hereby is fixed and declared to be beginning July 1st, 2013 and ending June 30th, 2014. Section 2, that the following budget containing an estimate of amounts available in each fund separately and of expenditures from each be and the same is hereby adopted as the budget of this school district for the said fiscal year.
So moved.
Second.
And roll call, please, Mrs. McMahon.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mrs. Notbush?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Caparelli?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton?
Yes. Okay. Yes, and then superintendent's report, please.
Including my report first, EPERT update. The Finance Committee met last week, and kind of walked through the budget development process. And January 16th is when we really start. I mean, technically it starts a little bit earlier with the levy process, but January 16th is when we really start to develop the budget for the next year. So anything that we're planning on looking at program-wise, we want to make sure that we complete that process by January 16th so that it can become part of the budget process. So the committee reviewed the various programs that were identified and then prioritized those. And we feel comfortable that we can complete 6 studies between now and January. And the areas that we're going to take a look at are class size and district organization, the gifted enrichment AP program, staff development, technology media, high school pool, and summer programs. And again, basically it's looking at all those different programs within the district and then asking the question, if funding remains the same, how does that impact learning for students? If it increases or decreases, how does that impact the district? And so we will now, Kim and I will now start that process of fleshing out what those next steps are and what those activities will look like, and then enlist the help of other administrators within the district and staff members as we study each of those programs and ask those questions, and then bringing that information back to the Finance Committee and then to the board for your review as well, so that we can have at least those programs identified. If we really work through them quickly, then we can continue working down that list and pull in those programs as well. But that's what will be our focus this year. With regards to the website, included in your update is a timeline. And again, our goal is to have the new website up and running by mid-November. And so we've already started some of that process in terms of our tech people have received some training on how to work with the new website, and then also starting to identify the basic template we'll be working on. And then each of the buildings then will have the opportunity to look at that template and then determine what they would like to see on there as well. And then the buildings will also incorporate input from staff and from community as well, and then when appropriate, students will also have some input into that. And then Nancy will be, is willing to come to one of our October board meetings, whichever you think would be best, to kind of give the board an overview, and then also can get some input from the board as well. And then I know there's been some interest from the board to also, they have a little bit of an opportunity to play around with it, take a look at it before it goes live. And so we'll make that opportunity available to board members as well, so that they can look at that. But I think it's a doable timeline, and I think by mid-October we should have a much more user-friendly and website, and just the ability to make updates in a timely fashion, will be available.
The buzz is strong.
Yes.
On that, just
Yes.
so, yay.
Skyward, the admin team did meet to take a look at the RTI module, response to intervention, which allows us to track student progress monitoring, and then also the interventions. And now the next step, this week we have our admin meeting, and we want to kind of finalize those expectations again, so that the expectations for each building on teachers updating grades through Skyward, it's consistent. And because I believe now we're 5th grade through 12th, we're utilizing the grade book for monitoring progress. And so
That's great.
yeah, this year we're bringing the 5th grade in. And so we want to make sure, again, that that's all clearly communicated, so that as parents pull up the information, if you have students in different buildings, it's consistent. Even within the same building, teachers are utilizing it in a consistent manner, so that when the parent looks at the progress, they know basically what it's saying, and it's consistent, and they don't have to worry about possibly that grade means a little bit different in this building than it does in another building, so that we have that consistency.
Before we leave Skyward, can I
Sure.
just interject with something? The other night at the junior high orientation, in case anybody missed that, there is an opportunity to set up parent-teacher conferences with the individual teachers through the Skyward system.
Mhm.
And that was another piece that
Right.
was met with great applause. So just while you're talking about Skyward.
Sure. The next item, superintendent coffees. We'll have superintendent coffees again this year. The first one is slated for October 17th at 7 o'clock in the high school commons. And I'm anticipating sharing a lot of the good news that we've had. Projects like this evening with Lisa Hoopman in the high school garden. But definitely updating our community on some of the great things that are happening in our district. And then also, that's an opportunity then for community members to ask questions of myself, and questions about our district, so that we can update our community. It's just another way that we can communicate all the positive things that are happening within our district. Student recognition, typically we ask board members. We have several different events throughout the year, and typically we ask the board then to sign up for events that they would like to participate in, and we'll have that circulate later this evening, and feel free to sign up for those. And then included is also 3 meetings with WTA. And right now, just so that you know, those are slated for the evening, because we never know who's going to sign up for those in work schedules. But the WTA, we're flexible, so that if a morning meeting works better for a board member, we can move that to the morning, or if early in the afternoon will work better for somebody, there is some flexibility with that time. But we just kind of put it at 5:30, because we're not sure yet who's going to sign up for those.
7 a.m.'s
those
just
events.
the best time ever. I love that one.
Those work out well.
She says sarcastically. Anyway.
And then a reminder that the DuPage area IASB Fall Dinner is October 29th. And so if anybody is interested in attending, if you could let Judy McMahon know, and she'll be happy to make the reservation. I know that I will have a conflict that evening, so I won't be able to attend, but Judy, again, can make the reservation for any board members who can attend that. And then finally, under communication, we last week especially, we were experiencing problems with email. Not only emails from, we talked a little bit at our last board meeting, a couple emails from our parents were bouncing back to them. And then last week, we were even having a problem with internally trying to send emails and those bouncing back. And so we believe we've corrected that problem, but just to kind of get over the hump a little bit with some of the things that we're trying to do with technology. We're anticipating that BYOD, that next week, we'll be bringing the 8th graders on board with their pilot. Then we're going to make sure that everything is working the way that it should be, and then it'll be open up to the high school at the end of next week or the beginning of the following week. And then in the interim, we're also bringing on somebody to work with us for the next couple of months. We brought that person on during the summer, not this most recent summer, the year before, because we're doing a lot of bringing online some smart boards and rolling over some computers and that type of thing. So we're going to bring that person on board to kind of help with those day-to-day troubleshooting, so that Jeremy and Jim can focus on some more of the projects and get those out of the way, so that we stay on top of our technology issues. So we're doing that piece. And the last thing I have...
Can I just ask a question on that? You mentioned here the pilot PARCC testing.
Oh, yeah.
What is that?
That's the new assessment. Right now, the assessment that the state administers in the spring is ISAT and Prairie State. And we were notified, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, that we're one of the asking, basically identifying districts that they would like to pilot the park, the new exam that we're implementing. Is it in 14 or 15? 15. 15, we're supposed to be transitioning from ISAT and Prairie State to Park. And so what they want to do is pilot that exam, because it can be done with paper and pencil, but the intent is for it to be computer-based. And so they want to, the state board wants to get kind of some of the, beta test some of it, get some of the bugs out. And so even prior to us possibly piloting the test, knowing that this is coming, we wanted to build up our infrastructure, because if you're testing all your 8th grade students, 7th grade students, that you want to make sure that you can handle that additional use of our infrastructure. And so that's why we're also building that up.
Do you have any idea how we're selected, or how we came to be asked?
I'm not sure what their process was.
And my other question is, the first year when we're doing the pilot, will we do the ISATs in tandem, or we'll do both?
Right. The students will still be taking the ISAT, and then the testing window for Park will be a little bit later for those students. But and just that whole testing. I mean, as a district, we're going to have some conversations, because the intent of Park is that it's given multiple times during the year, and we do other assessments multiple times during the year. So we may have to take a look at our own assessment program and decide. You start looking at the instructional time, potentially that can be lost. So we'll have to have those conversations as they bring the Park assessment on. So, and then the last thing I have is Liz Hennessy was here in August to talk to the board a little bit about possible ways to fund projects using the TIF funds that have been promised to the district. And the board did ask for her to take a look at, all those projects and come back to the board with some suggestions of how to fund those projects. And so she will be here October 8th. She will be here. She touched base with Kim and I this past week to talk a little bit about some of the things we're looking at and the dollar amount and some possible ideas. And then she has October 8th available. So she'll be here on October 8th to have that conversation with the board.
Great. Thank you. Okay, are there any board reports?
The only thing I'll add from the recent SACID meeting is they said there was likely going to be some changes to the program at the high school that is primarily for students with physical challenges, and that they are seeing a great reduction in the number of students that get placed into this program, because so many of them are remaining in their home districts as opposed to participating in SACID programming. So it's a possibility that that program may be leaving our high school. So.
And that's, you know, that's one of those things that is, Kim's working towards the budget for next year. Obviously, that's revenue, so that would be something that we'd consider in terms of our revenue.
Okay, anything else? I have two things. Friday night is the Miller Ice Cream Social. I think it starts at 4:30. 4:30?
4:30,
So
yeah.
that's this Friday. And then, Kim, just because another buzz, Cass Avenue, have we heard anything yet from anybody as to when that might be?
We have not, and I touched base with the bus company, and gonna have a conversation with them tomorrow
Okay.
about what the plan is, but.
Okay, everyone's on heightened alert about that, so.
Yeah, we haven't heard anything from the village yet about when that
Okay.
is.
Great, thank you. Are there any other public comments? The chair will entertain a motion to enter closed session for the purpose of discussing collective bargaining and personnel.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Caparelli?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Knappbush?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
And there will not be a vote.